Hello and welcome to the 3D printed classroom. It's been quite a while. I've sort of dropped the ball on making the videos. I think I left off on lesson 2, so I'm going to pick up at lesson 3. So at this point, students have been assigned a client, and now they have to reach out to that client and set up a face-to-face meeting with them so they can learn about their problem. Now, one aspect of this engineering design challenge that I like to do is to have the element of surprise for both me and the students. I don't actually know what the client's problems are going to be. But anyway, so here I have my learning targets. I can formulate, what does this say? I can formulate questions to ask my client. I can ask questions that will help me identify the criteria and the constraints. And so in the past lessons, those have been pretty big things that I hit on: the criteria of the problem and constraints, the requirements, and the limitations. We do kind of review, sort of a think aloud what criteria and constraints are. After that, we made a connection to ELA, and that was discussing thick and thin questions. And so thin questions are things that are basically yes or no questions. If you're talking about a text, they would be questions that are found in the text. Another thing, I guess, if you have like level 1, 2, or 3 questions, 3 requiring some type of like inference or synthesis of information. So the thin questions for this project are this sort of like who, what, when, where, and why. Who's your client? What's your problem? When do you need it by? Where is it going? They're easy, straightforward, and there's one right answer. This is all part of our review as we got ready to come up with our questions. These are student answers. The thick questions would be hard. There would be multiple answers, more than one answer. It's the why and the how. And so getting into that mindset of asking questions that will allow for a conversation to happen, because it's not a survey. You're not going to your client with a survey to have them fill out. We want it to be an interview. We want it to be conversational. So I had them break out into small groups. After the students broke out into small groups, they sort of brainstormed questions that they could ask. After that, what we did is we organized those questions. And so here we have, let's see if I can get that. Now I have the 3 categories: problem, criteria, and constraints. Now, whenever I have students work together to come up with questions or things that they're going to share out, I have them share their entire list. So if you see a plus sign next to any of these, it means that more than one group had that as an answer. So as they shared them out, we organized them as to like what would that reveal? Is that going to reveal what the problem is? Is that going to reveal a criteria, or will that reveal a constraint? Ultimately, it really depends on what their answer is, but going over it this way, I found really helps students interpret their answers. Especially, they write down what their client says, and then they bring all of that back into the classroom, and then they have to parse out that most useful information. That's the next lesson. So that is the entirety of the 3rd lesson. It doesn't take very long. Instruction-wise, most of it is working in the group and then collecting all the answers. We collect them all because that's our well that like anybody can go to. It's not about getting better questions than the other group. It's about working together and using resources that your classmates come up with. So anyway, this was a pretty brief one. Thanks for watching. If you want to subscribe, do that. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Thanks. Toodaloo. All right, hello and welcome to the 3D printed classroom. It's been a while. Here, I'm gonna, wait, dang it. Is this gonna be the right way?